Hello and welcome back to another episode of World of Warcraft Hardcore. My name is Syken and today we are continuing the World of Warcraft playthrough of our little hunter, Syken Shoots. We are still playing on the official servers of Stitches, and we're resuming the playthrough in the Netherguard Keep. We are currently very far down here in the Blasted Lands, and after our successful conquering of Searing Gorge, we still have rested XP left over. I grabbed world buff, I also grinded a little bit here, so I figured might as well be a really good time to introduce kind of an interesting spot that I'm using nowadays with all of the characters, not only to get the necessary quests done here, 5 overall, one of which I have already done, but also to kind of grind raid consumables for later and actually make a good living, because all of these creatures here drop specific quest related items. You can repeat the quests, they give 1 hour consumables. In this case it is the agility consumable that gives you 25 agility, so that's a greater potion, almost like a mongoose potion, for free. And specifically for the stamina one, it is very sought after. If you can't use Zanzas yet from ZG, the Blasted Land buffs are definitely the way to go. Many people kind of skip out on them, and I think that's a huge mistake, because they put themselves unnecessarily at risk going into a dungeon with lower hit points. Granted, the items that you're getting are soulbound, so they can't be traded, and they are unique, so you can't have multiples of them, but you can have the trade-in materials theoretically with you, and all you need to do is go to the Blasted Lands, trade them in, and use the consumes. You can even kind of start your raiding day if you do have a warlock that can summon, by essentially getting summoned, and prior to that being here using the consumes and having 1 extra in your backpack. Granted, it's a bit sweaty because the quests take some time, so to get 2 full consumes, which is enough for 1 raid, you would potentially need to calculate like 30 minutes, and many people simply don't want to invest that amount of time for 250 hit points, but that's an extra priest buff right there, or nearly an extra priest buff right there. So for me, that's a really good method, and since you can shift them in between characters, I can also give them to characters that, specifically to characters that are not as well equipped yet, just making them a little bit more resilient for upcoming raids. So that's really it. There's a lot of grinding happening here, and whilst we're doing it, I wanted to speak a little bit about the Blasted Lands, because there's some of the stuff that I can't show in the normal leveling, simply because there isn't that much for me to actually do there. But there is more in the Blasted Lands in particular that you could do with larger groups or with raids even. So let's talk about a couple of these things. So number one, another reason why people don't like the Blasted Lands too much is because you end up with 1 patrolling entity here. The bane of all existence in the Blasted Lands. His name is Theramos, the Devourer. It's a very slow flying dragon until he is leashed, and when that happens he's not slow at all, and Theramos is just a menace. So Theramos is potentially one of the hardest hitting. He doesn't have a lot of special abilities, but he is one of the hardest hitting world. He's not a boss. There he is. Speaking of the devil, he's one of the hardest hitting elite mobs. So Thermos himself, second deadliest in the Blasted Lands, which is not surprising. He hits for around 2000 per hit on clothies of equal level. So we are male, but we are not kind of equal level to him, so we're not level 60. He is even higher than 60, so he's boss level, so 63 or above. And we would potentially get crushing hit for also around 2000, so we have exactly 2 hits. He doesn't have a breath attack as far as I'm concerned, but he has soul consumption, drains health from nearby creatures, and is overall just an absolute menace. You don't want to mess with Theranos. He's patrolling the lands here. We're not going to go anywhere near him. We're pulling stuff away from him. I don't even want to risk triggering him, because that would mean we have to run or we're dead. It's really that simple. You could kite him a bit, but if anything goes wrong, you will find yourself in Root Awakening. He doesn't have any good loot. He's just here to kind of gatekeep the whole area and be a bit of an annoyance. And on softcore, I think that would be already bad enough as it is. On hardcore, he is dreaded. Let's put it this way. People do not like him. He's taking a rest here from time to time, and then afterwards he continues to kind of fly around the zone here. Either takes a left circle or a right circle. We're just farming here in the meantime. So that's one thing that you can find. Then there is the big demon portal here, the Blasted Lands. I think from the lore or trivia behind it, are the place where the demons have already been called. It's the natural place where the gate to TBC is standing, which you find exactly down here, and that's also where, if the expansion would be launching, I think you go through that gate, if I'm not completely mistaken. So that leads to the demon world. There is, of course, in good fashion of that storyline, the demon Prince Kazak down here, which is why you're seeing kind of kills here and here. He's roaming all the way down here. All of this area, from this section onward to the very bottom, is an elite area where there are only level 60 plus demons of various sorts. I think it is used for the Warlock Epic Mount quest. Not 100% sure. I don't want to talk out of proportion, but yeah, that section of the map very interesting, and Kazak himself very interesting. Of course, not with level 49. You have no business being there. Kazak himself, Shadow Bolt volleys very hard, and if he doesn't do that, he also waits for you to lose your mana, and if that's gone at some point, then you do have a problem, because he will consume your soul, you explode, deal damage to everybody, and make it even worse. So Kazak is one of those bosses. If things go wrong and people die, there can be a nice little chain reaction of more people dying. As for just generally the area, there is more to explore there. In some of my other playthroughs I've already done that. The Hero of the Fallen Horde quest line, which requires you to that's where you see those big red areas. The Hero of the Fallen Horde kind of starts up here with the Fallen Hero. I'm not sure if it is Horde only. I think there is an Alliance equivalent, but I have just not done it on Alliance. And it's, in my perspective, a fantastically made quest. 15 or 18 steps that lead you all around Azeroth, exploring kind of the background story of the fallen hero of the Horde, who had been sent here with his squadron to explore the Blasted Lands, and they have been more and more tricked into either betrayal, killing themselves, or becoming like demons themselves. So really a cool storyline itself, and also awesome experience. So I very much enjoyed that. Many of the end bosses, so the last few steps are here. And you do have like 1, 2, 3 bosses that you need to kill, and then on this mountain here, on this very mountain, like right up there, you're fighting the demon that is responsible for all of the treachery. And yeah, so that is something else that happens here. So this keep, where there is 1 out of 3 of the generals, so to speak, of that demon, is completely off limits for us, for good reason, because those guys slap very, very hard. So in terms of just quests here, I'm trying to be mindful not to trade in the quest as long as I do have the buff. The agility buff that I've taken, I've finished that quest first, is very helpful for me, increases the DPS, so we're of course going to keep it as much as possible, and we're just going to grind. We need plenty of blasted boars, which are where Theranos currently has been. We need basilisk brains, which are where Theranos again is currently. We will need vultures, those we can find over here, and a couple on the other side. And yeah, more blasted boar lungs. Pincers and so on are fine, so the scorpions are okay, and the hyenas are okay as well. We don't need that much more of them. The idea of these quests, in my perspective, is fine, because you're getting a lot of raid consumables just basically for free. It is, however, dangerous to farm here, and that's why they put in Theranos. So overall, the zone logically makes sense. I think as constructive criticism, there could have been a bit more in this zone. I talked about that earlier in some of the other playthroughs. They do have the Netherguard Keep here, which is kind of the last bastion of the humans in the completely blasted lands. There is the Garrison Armory, like a huge mine right here. That whole mountain, there's a very, very big cave underneath it. Incredibly well done, may I say so, on top. But there's nothing in there, like literally no quest, nothing. It seems to me that a lot of the quests that could have been here were simply not implemented. There are all of the cultists, right? There are these creatures, but you could have easily in the mountains put a couple more quests in, and just made the whole area slightly more interesting by really allowing it to be a quest hub. As it stands, it is very much like one of those areas which is completely binary. Many people are of the opinion that this area isn't even worth their time, so you will never see them here. Some don't even have the flight path because they can't be bothered to get those raid consumes. They just skip out on them. And then there are people like me who actually don't mind killing a few mobs. I wouldn't do that here for hours and hours at a time, but just getting the quest, so to speak, done, getting free buffs on top of it, and basically getting also sorts of food and a couple of other rewards. That's fine by me. It's not the best questing area, and I would potentially like it to be better, but it's okay. I mean, you can work with it. So that's all I know about the Blasted Lands. It's an interesting place. It is, however, from a gameplay perspective, not that interesting, which is why we're going to fast forward to a little bit more interesting endeavors. As you can see, we are just continuing to kill enemies over and over and over again. All right, let's fast forward. All right, after a while of grinding, we're just out of the world buff. We have done it. Most of the quests are done. I will not trade in all of them, simply because some of them are, in my perspective, not fully worth the reward. If you look at the proceeds here, they're sometimes worth well in advance of a gold, so I could make some money out of others wanting basically to buy the same items, and I will also send a couple of them to my raiding characters so that we do have lung juice cocktails, which is what I'm looking for, the plus stamina version. So let's start by trading in. That one will not be traded in. That one will be traded in. That's pretty solid spirit if we need it. That will be traded in. That is roids, aka strength. And finally I'll get the lung juice cocktail, and with it also a 60-minute buff for extra stamina, so we're super healthy. And that's also the one that we will be using for raiding. So I got everything that I wanted out of the zone, which is very good. So we're done with that. And we're going to leave the Blasted Lens for now, potentially to Tenaris, finishing the quest there. Alrighty, so we are in Tenaris. Let's get a couple of quests done here. So these are the quests that are basically left over the kind of level 48, 49, 50 quests. And I figured might as well do them now. We're level 50. We haven't really done a lot of quests because the Blasted Lens is fun as that isn't really like questing territory. It is grinding and getting stuff done, but now it's good to also get a few quests done. So we need 30 of those Gazrian ornaments, and we need to kill ogres, and what better way of doing it than basically doing both at the same time. I personally like this compound here, and then I'm riding over to the other compound, so giving it a little love tab, doing the stuff here, and then afterwards we're going to the other compound. Good. Ogre mages we don't necessarily need, but still good to get these little scraps here and there. And also they don't have a lot of hit points, plus their spells can be easily interrupted. The enforcers on the other hand we need, so that'll be good. We're going to just clear out most of this compound. Once we're done with that, depending on how many of these lootable items we have, we might need to go to the compound down here and then to the final compound. Or we do it the other way around, do the final compound, and by that I mean this here first, and see if we can get everything done. Typically this is the most efficient one in terms of the kills that we need, but down here, as you can see, very high density of these ornaments. So we're going to take the ornaments first, if possible, and get a couple of enforcers as a bonus. All right. So, ogres, I mentioned that in the past, always one of my favorite enemies. They tend to have not that much AC in the moderate hit point pool, and their skills are typically also not like overwhelmingly complex or dangerous. Matter of fact, all of them are fine. That changes in Diamol, by the way, where they crank up the damage of ogres, and all of a sudden these guys are actually really, really threatening. But during the leveling process, not so much. You can chill with them and just get your stuff done. The enforcers in particular, we can get them here, and I think there are also brutes that we could get here. Those are the two that we need. And in this big final compound, there is even a boss that we could get. So that's the plan for now. And getting a couple of the ornaments, of course. So. What else do we need to do? So let's do that first. Then we're going to take insect parts over here, which is easy peasy. And then we go down here, get both of the quests done. The Leaden Dew and the Thristostrap Valley. And use Toga to basically escort him all over the place to here. So that's 1, 2, 3 quests down here, 4, 5, 6 quests that we still have left over, which is not too bad. The rest of the quests are Yunguru related, which currently it might be a little bit too early to attempt that. I always started Yunguru earlier when I was playing at around level 50. So kind of right around the level that we currently have. But doing it a couple of times over since, I actually came to the conclusion that Yunguru is best been done at level 52, 51, 52, rather towards 52. It always gives an entire level, so that's good. And I personally just like doing the quest immediately, and a couple of the enemies there are level 53, 54, so kind of around 52. They are no longer orange. Like that's the highest. Well, Lakori, the one raptor, is actually 56. So by those standards, doing it at around 52, or when you reach 52 during doing it, might be the best bet, because then the guy isn't red anymore and you can just blast through that quest as well. The bottom line is you want to make sure that you're doing all of the quests in one go. Then it's a bit more than one level, I think almost 1.5 level. It's kind of the equivalent to the Searing Gorge, but in a different way. It's even more XP than Searing Gorge. So I must say it must be around 1.5 ish levels if you do all of the quests whilst you're there. So yeah, that's really the idea. Oh, and before we're forgetting it, I mean, super important actually, I got my gun smuggled over, which is also why you are seeing the 20-second kill timers again per mob. We found this one here on our warrior, actually on horde side, and I needed to, or I decided to smuggle it over, knowing fair well that a new gun would be in order, and I'm very happy. It's a bit of a fast-ish gun, but it doesn't really matter for leveling too much, because I'm not actively using arcane shot too often. It's really more about doing consistent wide hit damage, and that it really does. So the old gun had 20 DPS, this one here has 26 DPS and better stats, and that's a huge upgrade for a hunter. On top of it, I put, instead of a 3 damage, a 7 damage scope, so we're looking at 10 DPS difference, which is almost a 50% improvement just from the DPS side. And that shows, because prior we were dropping in speed to say 35-40 second kill speed, not that slow, maybe 30-35, right around that corner, and I needed to use world buffs in order to kind of still stay relevant in a sense. This time it's different. You can see this here, the stinger is 15 seconds, so you can very much see that that guy died in an overall 15 seconds, so that's a good one. Good, so let's start here as well and see how fast it goes. These guys are 48, so and they actually do have a lot of hit points. That was a bad pull because I didn't mark it. Anyways, even with a bad pull, you can see we're kind of killing him in 30 seconds, so that's the worst that could happen. But bottom line is we're very frequently chain killing in around that 20 second mark, which is exactly what I was hoping to get out of the gun. So the gun didn't disappoint in the slightest, and that allows me to just regularly kill these guys in a much faster fashion. So that gun will last us until level 60. I already got the Silith's blaster launcher, which is a level 60 gun, ready to go for us when we're level 60, and that is a really good gun. We'll also load it with a bit better ammunition. We're still using the crafted slingshots. Technically should upgrade to mithril, but due to the low population on the server, mithril is like really expensive at the moment, so getting 20 stacks of mithril and the solid blasting stuff on top of it would be give and take around 10 gold, and you can imagine that lasts me maybe for a level, so 10 gold every level just for ammunition. I felt that was maybe a bit excessive, and since we are Taylor, that's a bit of an unfortunate situation. Good. So the boss is in here in this cave. We're going to get ready to beat the guy down. Like I said, this compound here is less for the ornaments and more for actually doing the kills. He has a nasty uppercut and a mortal strike, so he can slap quite a bit if he gets to use his mortal strike. But he's dead in 15 to 20 seconds, so not a problem for us. Now that the boss is down, all we need are a couple more brutes, and that should not be an issue either. I could now handpick all of the enemies, or we're just going round robin and killing everything in our way. I think the latter one is the right call. I always did that with Hunter, just kill everything inside and accept that the extras are just a bit of extra experience. So that's what we're going to do here as well, and then afterwards I think we're going to go back and are collecting the remaining ornaments, because we still need quite a few, right? Yeah, 20 more. So maybe back here and collect the remaining ornaments. Fast forward for you guys. Alright, we are done with collecting parts and killing ogres, and we're right into the next nice quest, where we are hopefully going to get 5 centipede parts. We are fighting the swarm once again. plenty of enemies around here. Luckily we're level 50, so typically this quest comes up early and then you end up being, I don't know, level 45, 46, and these guys can get up all the way to level 50. They do have nasty abilities, the stingers here with Thrash for instance. If you kite them for too long they store up attacks and hit you with it. They also got a pretty hard-hitting poison. The swarm guards, my personal nemesis of an enemy, spawn little bugs, only one hit point or few hit points, but they hit really hard, and they also interrupt spell casting. So for casters, particularly ugly to fight these guys, but also for hunters, it adds extra pressure. Tensor can only so often thunderclap. So yeah, we need 5 centipede parts from these guys. There's a full-fledged hive underneath us. If we ever decide we are bored and want to explore that, it's an option. There's another hive all the way down here, which we will need to explore a little bit later. And yeah, these guys are the second strongest ones after Silithus, sorry. And this here is exactly why you don't want to mess with them. Need to pull all of the cooldowns here, because this is going to involve quite a bit of aggro juggling. Good. Oh yeah, we forgot the tunnelers. The tunnelers are also nasty because they do have a debuff that is rend armor, or whatever it's called, acid armor. Here, pierce armor. Armor reduces by 50%. So all of them together, like if you pull a tunneler and a swarmer and one of these poison stingers, it's just madness, because one reduces your armor, another one spawns dozens and dozens and dozens of these little insects that deal way too much damage for one hit point insect, and the other one poisons and thrashes. So no matter who you start with, it will always mean you're taking a lot of damage. So that's why I have a great respect for all of these bugs. They are also not crowd controllable, with the exception of the hunter. It's actually one of the few classes that can. Frost Trap still very much works on these guys, but not Frost Trap as well, but also Freezing Trap. Both of them actually work on them. They can be slowed, that is true. But a mage, for instance, can't polymorph them. They can't be slept, so hibernated. And their immunity to CC makes it all the worse, because all of a sudden you're kind of ending up with enemies that hit hard, technically have a lot of armor, which you can see as well. They still only live like 20-25 seconds, but they have a good amount of armor for level 47 enemies. And on top of that, a lot of damage, not CCable. The whole ground that we're fighting on, you cannot mount on these parts, so that makes it extra difficult. And inside of the hives, these are just extensive caves, so if anything, these guys are nasty. Really nasty. I'm trying to do as little with them as possible, but that quest kind of forces us to do it. We need 5 insect parts, 3 of which we have already gotten. A bit of an infrequent drop it is, but yeah, luckily with our level advantage that we do have on the centipedes, that gives us all the advantage that we need. When you're doing it at 45 and these guys partially are orange, then it is just an absolute pain to deal with them, specifically the tunnelers. So yeah, I will not go into the hives, mainly because inside of the hives you cannot mount and it's very, very dangerous. Let me show you one of those swarm guards, because not only are they level 50, there we are with those little bugs that they are spawning. Now Tensor has used his Thunderclap. And luckily none of them this time came to us, but I can assure you, if they aggro on you and you as the hunter need to tank them, they will dish out a reasonable amount of damage. Like 2 of them can take you down relatively quick, and if you pull 2 of the swarmers, that's just madness. The amount of damage that they are dealing is crazy. So best beware. I would put the whole bugs into a very dangerous category as enemies. I mentioned that on many playthroughs and I still stand firm to that belief. So what is the plan once we have done all of that? We will soon have the 5th drop. Then we're going southwards and are fighting not so dangerous enemies, higher level, but I much rather fight them. Nature elementals of various sorts that are not immune to nature damage. So gnarled Thistlesup, the Root Shapers, and whatever the third ones are that carry the Laden du Gland. So that's around 20 kills worth of enemies that we need to go through in order to get those 2 quests done. Shouldn't be a huge problem. And then afterwards we're getting Tonga, I think is his name. Yeah, Tuga, not Tonga, Tuga, which is another nice quest. It's a turtle that lost their mate, or they lost each other. One ended up here, one ended up there, and they are now wandering, trying to find each other, which is just a nice little love story. We're going to use Tuga and move them to here, trade in, move to here, finish the quest, and then we're basically done when it comes to Tanaris, which brings us into a tough spot, right? Because I would absolutely love to do Zul'Farrak. I think it would be. Oh wait, yeah, this guy is underground. False alarm. I was very happy to get a named enemy. That would be a free green item right there, rare spawn. But those typically spawn within the hives down there. Anyway, so after finishing Tanaris, it gets us into a really, really tough spot, because I would want to do Zul'Farrak, and that won't easily happen. I mean, just looking at Tanaris, really, these are typically the people that you could talk with. We got 1 druid. Now, that's not a lot. This here is the level range that we could work with. I could technically call out each of them, but the reality is someone from Hillspread for them to move over here, that would be a huge ask. They will very, very likely say no thank you, because you're on the other side of the planet, and Azeroth is big, so he will likely not come. Ergo, not even going to start trying to do it. unless there is at least one other person, a tank or a healer, that reasonably would want to do it. I don't see a group that can be built up. See the difference, by the way, these guys here are level 50 as well, and just see the difference in the damage that they are taken towards the chrysalids. Like, look at that. Number one, Tensa's taking almost 0 damage, and number two, all of these kills are done within 15 seconds on even level enemies. Quests here, relatively easy. We just need to kill 16 of these guys, like 8 and 8. And then as many as we need from the dew collectors, which do have that little pipe that we need, and then we're done. That's 2 quests immediately done. And then we do have 6 quests. We're taking Tuga, moving them over, and essentially having 6 quests to trade in, which sort of equates to 25-30%. So we're looking at almost being level 51, which makes the whole Yunguru situation even tougher on me. Because here's the thing, I really want to use the opportunity that we're anyways down here, and I'm toying with the idea to go to Yunguru, but it is so much better to wait until level 52 in order to do that. And believe it or not, like, we already do have 4 quests in Zul'Farrak, so ZF run now would be the best thing that could happen to us. It would just be so good. The kill experience in ZF alone is about 20-30%, and then if we trade in, let's say, even 3 of those quests, then that would be a nice little 20% extra, so half a level just by doing that dungeon the first time, that is. We would need to get a group together though, and that really is the challenge with that entire playthrough. I was trying for a lot of the dungeons. There is still, like, this dungeon here, Legends of Maraudon, together with all of the other quests. We could do a nice little Maraudon quest run. That would be even better than Zul'Farrak. Gives us a chance for a hit item. But yeah, that's just not happening at the moment. So we're potentially going to push this off until someone actually looks for a dungeon, but I've seen very limited dungeon groups lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't immediately happen. We found another slight upgrade, agility stamina on the head, and instead of a level 30 head, which was embarrassingly low, and that's another problem of ours, right? We're having no dungeon gear whatsoever. I'll say incorrect. The Uldaman we did, and we got very handsomely rewarded for it. But other than Uldaman, we don't have a lot of stuff to show for. So that's a bit of a challenge. Don't know how to solve it. I might be doing a couple of dungeon organizations myself. So fast forward for the rest of the killing here. Alright, after quite a bit of kills, we finally done the compound here as well. So that's 2 quests done right there. And we're off to our next quest, Toga, who either could be up here. We already know that that is not the case. So the second area where he typically roams and kind of does what he does best, is at that crash landed Zeppelin. So typically around here. There we go. Toga is ready for a nice quest. All we now need to do is not lose him and don't run him into any of the predators. We're taking a straight path and I'm trying to have as little interruption as possible. If it comes to it, sure, but the optimal play would be to make sure Toga is fine. Okay, that's not really super exciting gameplay, but what will be exciting is the 6 quests that we're now turning in. First quest to trade in the Gizrazian. I think we're just taking the money here. And let's continue with escorting Toga. Very good. Second quest, trade in. Thank you. Stamina intelligence isn't that bad. Unfortunately, that particular bracer is not that good. Very good. Fabulous. So, quest number 3, trade in. Let's go. Quest number 4, trade in. They are not too bad, but ours are great as well.
Goodbye for now.
Quest number 5 is a trade in. There's a bit of follow-up regarding Noggenfogger Alex here, which is fine, but that's not really a quest. And quest number 6 to trade in.
Potential customer. Be good. Keep it real. I got the best deals anywhere.
There is still the Skim Tank Redemption, which is down here. Oh, it's actually not too bad. It's a decent chunk of experience, 5,000. We're going to do that, but that'll potentially happen off screen, to be entirely honest. And we got the Noggenfogger Elixir as well as, well, I mean, look, those are 2 hinterland quests. Better than no hinterland quests. So we got stuff to do with a bit of a traveling time. We made it to 75% in the level, which is okay. That's going to conclude today's episode. It's not great, but it is also not too bad. I think we've made a reasonable impact, but I also don't want to go to Ungoro Crater yet. Perfect would be to go and have a full Maraudon run, but that might be another day. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a good one and take care.